Voters in Turkey are going to the polls in landmark elections that are posing the biggest challenge to President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in his 20-year rule. Erdogan is under pressure over his response to February's devastating earthquakes that killed 50,000 and his economic policies that have sent inflation soaring. Opinion polls gave his challenger, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, a narrow lead ahead of the vote. Kılıçdaroğlu is heading a six-party alliance that has vowed to set Turkey on a new course. After casting his ballot in Istanbul, President Erdogan had the following to say.
My hope to God is that after the counting concludes this evening, the outcome will be good for the future of our country, for Turkish democracy. It is important that all voters cast their ballots without any concerns until 5 p.m. This is important for the strength of Turkish democracy.
And speaking in Ankara, Erdogan's challenger said the election's outcome would bring about change in Turkey, which he likened to a change in seasons. Have a listen.
I would like to say thank you to all my fellow citizens. I would like to say thank you to all of those who went to the polling stations. We have all missed democracy. We missed being together, embracing each other. You will see, God willing, that spring will come to this country, and that the spring will always go on.
DW special correspondent Aya Ibrahim is in Istanbul, and she visited a polling station in the city to find out what concerns the people casting their ballots have.
I am at the birthplace of Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the Istanbul neighborhood of Kasim Pasha, where he still enjoys a lot of popularity and support. Now, at this polling station that you see behind me, voters have been trickling in all morning to cast their ballots, as they will be doing across the country. Now, this election will determine if the president, who has been at the helm of Turkish politics for 20 years, gets to stay in power. Some say the stakes are very, very high in this election as well. This is not just about one man staying in power. It is Turkey's democratic character that's at stake. Now, I've been speaking to voters here all morning about how they feel on this election day, and this is what some of them had to say.
I am very excited and hopeful. This is the first time I have been this hopeful for an election. I have huge expectations.
I don't think a lot needs to change. What needs to be done has been done. I hope the election results are good for our country. I'm glad I got to fulfill my civic duty.
We expect them to fix the economy before anything, because now people are hungry. This is a big priority. I'm very excited. I haven't slept well in the past few days. I'm an artist, a director. I want a future that is hopeful and free. If not for me, then for the children. I want education to be better. I want to change the patriarchal system. I want to see women at the forefront.
Artık daha ön planda olması gerekiyor diye düşünüyorum.
It's been a nice and calm election. I was able to cast my vote in peace.
And DW correspondent Dorian Jones is also on the story and is updating us on the latest developments in the election progress.
Well, we're hearing reports all across here in Istanbul of long queues at many polling stations with an expectation that this could be one of the highest turnouts in the country's history, possibly surpassing 90%. Turkey does have one of the highest voting participation rates in the world, but this election is expected to surpass even the normal high levels. Even President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, when voting in Istanbul, had to queue himself. Speaking to reporters, he said that he prayed to God for the nation and for the people. In Ankara, his main challenger, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, also queuing to vote. He said that he respected all voters, but said he missed democracy, and that's an indication of his platform of saying he's going to return parliamentary democracy back to Turkey. But along with the record turnout, we're also seeing record numbers of electoral observers. We're talking about 400,000 observers across the country, and they are there organised by non-governmental organisations and the main political parties to ensure a fair vote. And that is key, given the fact that all the polls indicate that this is going to be a very close election.
I know what you meant. I mean, this high turnout certainly seems to confirm what commentators have been saying for quite some time now, namely that Turkey's democracy, the democratic future of the country, is at stake at this election. Or would you agree with that?
Well, that's platform of the main challenger, Kılıçdaroğlu. He's all the way through his long campaign has pledged to, he said, to return Turkey back to full democracy, parliamentary democracy. He said that under Erdogan, you've seen this centralization of power under a central executive presidency, which has allowed Erdogan to rule by decree. And Kılıçdaroğlu said that democracy itself is at stake if this continues. Now, Erdogan dismisses it. He said such powers are vital for a country that is determined to prepare itself for the next century of development, and also in a neighbourhood where it's surrounded by turmoil. So very alternative platforms that these two leaders are standing on, and very much high stakes all round.
All right. And briefly, Dorian, if you would, because obviously we're also watching what's happening in Turkey, how much of an impact could this election have on foreign policy there?
Well, it's huge. In fact, Kılıçdaroğlu is pledging a 180-degree turn in foreign policy. He said Turkey is going to reorientate itself back to its traditional Western allies of Washington and the European Union. Very critical of Turkey's move towards Moscow and possibly Beijing. Erdogan has dismissed this. He said it's all about keeping Turkey's primacy in the region. So also foreign policy is a very important factor in this election.
All right. Dorian Jones reporting for us from Istanbul. Thank you so much, Dorian.